Thank you for clicking and watching my video. It really does mean a lot to me. It is important for me to get my message out there for others to hear, and so by you listening, it's getting out there, one way or another. First and foremost, I want to tell you guys a little bit about my business, what it means to me, and what I hope to provide. Also, how I came about with the name, and just those little fun facts that people want to know and aren't always on the website. After that, I will tell you a little bit about myself and what got me here, because I think that's important too, for people to know that I just didn't, feel this way my whole life, or just wake up one day and was like, this is how I feel, this is what I'm going to do now. It's really important to know that there is a struggle behind most, women or people, men as well, trying to get to a spiritually conscious point in their life. So first and foremost, my business is called Helen of Troy. Um, the name came to me driving in the car one day. I'm actually pretty sure I was listening to Lil Wayne. I don't really remember. I just needed a business name because signing on to my new job as a pole fitness instructor, we, were told to get a business license. So I was like, okay, rush to get a business license because I was like, I want to start my own business. I don't know what it is yet, but I'm going to start it. And so I got it, and then it sat there. Like, I had no idea what I wanted to do with it. So I just left it alone. Time went on. I really had invested myself in pole fitness and aerial fitness and surfing and like yoga and daily meditation and all of these things that had really were keeping me very busy. My yoga was not for a mind body connection. It was just for a physical fitness thing, and my meditation was just because I knew I should be doing it because I was told it's good for me. So they weren't coming from the right place. So I really had just thrown myself into all of that. And then I was at aerial rehearsal. There was a show coming up. Lo and behold, I did something to my knee. I went up in a move. I felt like a burning, like fiery flame that I should have been concerned about up in my knee. I came out of the trick and, was like, oh, I can walk on my knee. It's fine. A week later, it was swollen like 3 sizes bigger. So it was not fine. That put me out for quite a while. I decided to study for my LSATs and my personal trainer exam and, focus in school or this, that, and the other. And it wasn't what I wanted. It wasn't what I needed. So I really started to feel myself getting down in the dumps again, and I didn't like it because I hadn't felt that way in a very long time, and I didn't want to feel that way again. So I was like, okay, what can I do to fix it this time? Last time was therapy. I don't really think that's what I need. It's not the calling that I feel. What else can I do? And that was when, my coworkers had continuously mentioned kind of this PSI basic seminar, always, like, oh, you should go. You have a lot of, aspirations, big dreams. You should do it. And I was like, yeah, if I can afford it, whatever. Just kind of like passing judgment, not really judgment. Yeah, I guess passing judgment on it and just kind of like whatever. And then for some reason I was like, wow, I really do want to go. I feel like this is what I need to do. I did not have the funds for it at all. Was super fortunate, and my boss, she paid for it, and I got to do a work off for it, which is fine. I would pull for free. I don't care. But she knows that. So I go, and it was life changing. I'm not gonna lie. I went in with a lot of resistance, a lot of I don't want to do this. I think this is stupid. So yeah, I go in. It's a life changing weekend, and I come out. Life goes on. I end up going to see a healer. I'll get more into that later because I kind of realized I derailed a little bit. So I'm back now. yeah, so I saw a healer, and it just kind of hit me one day that, my motto for my business had always been, what if, Helen of Troy had been in touch with her inner goddess? Like, what if she had really embraced who that person was inside of her? Like, how badass would she have been? Like, really badass. So that's always been my motto, is like finding your inner goddess. And when it hit me what I wanted to do, it hit me super hard when I realized what I meant by finding your inner goddess. I meant, for me, it was getting back in touch with my femininity and forgiving myself for a lot of things and finding ways to continuously spiritually grow and really move forward with my life after a lot of events. And this was what I felt called to move forward to, is to be able to heal other women, to be a healer for women, and I realized that a lot of people are like, oh, what about men too? But that's not really my focus so much. My focus is on women because I do genuinely feel like a lot of us have lost touch with our inner femininity. Sorry, that's a hard word for me. Um, and I say that because I did spend 4 years in the military, and during that time I completely lost touch with it. And it's been quite a struggle to get back in touch with it. It is important for me, though, and that's why it was something that I continue to do. And that is also why I can say that I know it is very easy for us to lose that, because we have to keep up in a man's world, or feel like we have to keep up in a man's world. Um, so, what I wanted to provide with this business is for me to be able to help women get back in touch with them through, I offer chakra healing kits, I offer personalized goddess sessions, as I like to call them. Um, I offer a lot of different things for women. With the kits, you get a nice, a mojo bag, some nice oil, a candle, a crystal that's been blessed and, cleansed and dedicated to you. You get a lot of good things, material things that you can touch, and it makes you feel better, as well as those providing, the healing aspects that you need. The personalized goddess sessions are more so dedicated on you. There are material aspects, but most of it is immaterial. It's working on yourself. It's me being here to hold space for you, to be able to help you figure out your life's purpose, what your spirit is calling you to do, and, maybe even figure out what's holding you back. That's what I want to provide for women. To really understand why I specify, it's for women, is because for me, it's really important to focus on those women who fall into that Me Too category. There are so many women that are now stepping up and speaking their truth about situations and figuring out how they need to heal, and not being afraid anymore to finally stand up for what is right. Um, I am one of those women that fall in that category, so that's why it's so important for me to work with them. That is why it is such an important aspect of my business, is to really focus on those women. It's because sometimes when you lose your femininity that way, it's a much more difficult path to get it back, even more so if you feel like you are alone and you don't have anyone that you can work with that understands where you are coming from. I provide the ability to understand that. I provide a different sense of what you might need, maybe a safer relationship for you to talk about things that have happened, because I know talking to loved ones is great, and seeing a therapist is great, and all these things that, I totally agree with. I've done it myself, but it's not always so easy to talk to them because they don't understand. Um, that's my focus with this business, is to be a healer for others, to hold your hand on your spiritual path, and, just say, hey, I think this might be a good idea. You want to try it? We'll see how it works out for you, and we'll go from there. So obviously, a little about me is because I do fall into that metoo category as well. And being an alpha female, I didn't really have the time to deal with that like I should have. So I just kind of shoved it to the bottom of, my emotional trauma list and said I'll get to it later. I know a lot of women probably do that because we assume we have to. We assume that we just kind of have to carry on and we don't have time to think about what happened. So I shoved it down. I kept going on with life. I joined the Navy. I saw the world. I had fun. I was in my early 20s. It was a good time. Uh, Most of the stories you probably hear about the Navy are true. It's just, sailors. So, I went through all this time and, things happened while I was in. They weren't the greatest. It's not the time to share those stories. So I get out. I start suffering from severe depression. It was bad. I didn't want to get up. I didn't want to leave the apartment. So I wouldn't. I would shower before my roommate would come home. So it looks like I had done something that day. I had just started dating my fiance, and I looked around and realized how good my life was. I was living in Hawaii. I was dating someone that was very invested in me and very sweet and caring. I was living with my roommate, who I adored. She was great. I had a cat. Life was good, and I was not happy. I was driving into Honolulu one day, don't remember for what, and it took me to physically restrain myself from just taking my car into this little bridge, walkway thing, whatever that is, the barricade. There we go. And that's when I knew I really needed to work on me. So I started with a therapist. I really started to work through some leftover things from the Navy, and still was, it's like it's not time to talk about anything else yet. I just want to work on this. I was sexually assaulted. I'm fine. It happened. I'm over it. So that was kind of my mentality for a long time. And so we didn't work on that. We worked on other things, typical mother issues. Time in the Navy, feeling, like, because I was a woman, I was overlooked, and it was just so much harder than it should have been because I was a woman who stood up for herself as well. So that was one of the big things for them, and it was one of the big things for me that I had to work on. So I go through this time. My fiance, he goes on deployment, and I'm still like we had gone home so he could meet my family over the holidays. We came back. He left. I went to New Orleans for my birthday, and when I came back after my birthday, I was just like, it's time. I really need to focus on the things I want to focus on and be the person I want to be. So that's when I threw myself into pole and everything else, and started to just really try to put everything back together. Like I told you earlier in the video, then I hurt my knee. That put me out for a while, and that's when I realized the spiritual side was still calling, and that I did still have a lot of issues tied up to what happened to me, even if I didn't know it at the time. So I did go to that PsyBasic, weekend seminar. I looked very deep inside of myself, but one particular moment is what made everything life-changing for me. One gesture from one guy who meant it from the bottom of his heart with no ulterior motives. I got up and I shared the story of my kidnapping and my rape. So it's a story that I share often, not right now because that's not the focus, but I shared it. People were very loving. There was a very good, reception of my story, and they were very caring and considerate, and it was beautiful for me. But this is what triggered this moment. We go on to do other activities. I work with one individual who I hadn't had anything to do with the whole weekend, really, like all of Friday, and it was almost the end of Saturday. And when I say almost the end of Saturday, it was like 8 p.m. at night. So yeah, almost the end. And we did our last activity together. We go on a break, and he asks if he can talk to me. for like 5 minutes. And I was like, yeah, that's fine, totally. What, like, let's go. So we walk out into the parking garage, and he turns to me and he's like, I want you to watch this YouTube video. There's a healer out here. He's worked with me. It's super woo woo. You probably won't like it, or you may not like it. I don't know. Like, I don't know how into this you are, but I want you to go because I go to him and I can, verify that what he does is real. And I was like, okay, he pulls up the YouTube video on my phone and he's like, watch this or just listen to it on your drive home. I was like, dope, I'll do that. It's cool. And he's like, okay, so I'm going to pay for it, but don't not take this gift because a stranger is paying for it, and because of everything you've been through, you don't necessarily trust other people. I was like, I promise, I trust you. Like, I'll take the gift. It's fine. Don't worry about it. I promise I'll make this reservation with him, or, this appointment. And he's like, okay. He's comfortable now. So I get the healer's number, not this individual's number. And a few days pass and I message him and I'm like, hey, so-and-so sent me to you. He told me to make an appointment, da 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 da. I make the appointment. I go, and then this was the life-changing moment. This is when my wheels really started turning, and I was like, this is who I am. This is who I need to be. This is who I'm tired of pretending that I am. So I go and I see him, and I'm not sure what he did. All I know is that it was amazing, and by the end of the session, all of my emotional attachment to what happened to me was gone. It was taken away. I can talk about it without feeling it. I can talk about it without getting visibly upset. The details. I've always been very open with my story because I think it's important, but with the details, that's obviously private for me. So being able to get to the point where I could describe these details to people without feeling this reaction was life-changing. It really did take a lot off of me. His name is Randy Johnson. If you are in Oahu, I would totally, 110% tell you to go see him if you feel like you have some emotional baggage and burdens and want those lifted. He's great. If you want his information, just contact me and I'll give it to you. I'm not going to put his stuff out here. So I go and see him. We're the end of the session. Things are great. Excuse me. We're doing, the goodbyes. And he asked me, he goes, do you know how much these sessions cost? And I said, I'm sure they are way more than I can afford. And he started laughing and he goes, I'm sure they are too. He was like, they're $500 per session, and so booked you 2 because he didn't know how many you needed to really get through it. And my jaw dropped because I just had some person I didn't know. I didn't even have his number to tell him thank you. I dropped $1,000 on my spiritual being, like on my spiritual wellness. I've never had someone do that before. I've never even, consciously thought someone would actually ever do that. It's always a nice thought in theory, but for someone to actually do that, it was just, my mind was blown, and it really got me thinking, the wheels turning and just kind of assessing everything that had happened and everything that was going to happen, because my fiance and I were going to Big Island for our vacation before he goes on deployment, and it was just a lot of stuff. We pack our stuff up. We go to Big Island. I love it there. It's super hippie. I'm all about it. There's like so many vegan food places that I'm vegan, so I'm like, oh my God, I have options. This is fantastic. I don't have to be like, let me get, the plate of grass if, that's all they have. So we walk around and I'm like taking pictures of posters for different yoga types, different healing types, just different things that they offer on the island. I was like, oh man, I wish they had that on Oahu. There's not that many places, or at least that I can find. So I just kind of gave up looking for a while. Anyways, the trip to Oahu was just amazing. My boyfriend proposed, so I became engaged. It was a really good trip all around. Obviously, very much for me. Um, we come back and I have my follow-up session with Randy, and he asks me, he's like, what do you want to do? You know, if you had all the time and the money in the world, what would you do? And I was like, I would work on being a healer. I want to heal other women. I want to be there for them. You know, I told him, I was like, I want to do what you do. I want to make people feel whole again and really get in touch with their spirit. And he was like, why don't you do it? I think you'd be great. You know, he's like, you're definitely a light worker. This, that, and the other. Sorry, I don't do well with compliments. They make me uncomfortable. But I was like, oh, I can't afford it. And then I just kind of, you know, left, and I was thinking about it, and I was like, I'm just going to start it. I'm just going to go. I'm going to start it. I'm just going to start my business. I'm going to, you know, put out everything I know thus far. I'm going to continue my spiritual growth. You know, I'm finally going to do this. And it's been really good so far. You know, the building it has been interesting, the getting there. This was a huge step for me. I've been avoiding a YouTube video for a long time because I know I'm just like, I don't want to get like super done up. That's just not who I really am anymore. And I'm just kind of chill and laid back. And I've seen these other videos and they're like crazy, you know, colorful and bright, and they've got a lot going on, and I'm just like, that's not me. I love it though. Cool for you guys. I love to watch it. That's just not who I am. So, you know, I'm putting this out. I have a blog out. I have, you know, things out. I'm writing a book. I'm really trying to like make this thing work it. You know, I'm really trying to work it and worth it and just provide for other people. And over the time, you know, I've always been kind of spiritual, and I was always super jealous of, you know, other women who had goddesses like reach out to them and be like, hey, you know, I'm here for you. And this is the first time in my, you know, life that I've had not only one, but three reach out to me, and three very strong ones, Freya and Dana and Mary Magdalene. And so it's very important for me to share that with you all as well, and just to really be for you guys and be for me. And you know, my next upcoming thing that my big spiritual moment thing that I'm really looking forward to is going on to an ayahuasca retreat. So I will definitely come back and let you know how that is, but it's going to be a while. It's like May, because I have school, so I can't leave, and I need cat sitters. So thank you for listening to this. I know it's long. I'm sorry, I talk a lot. So if you have any questions, just message me. Feel free to leave any comments. Not if you're going to be shitty, though, because nobody likes that guy. It's just unnecessary. Yeah, so have a great day, evening, afternoon, whenever you're watching this, and thank you for listening, and I love you guys. Bye.